It's been 3 seasons since Auburn last lost a meet. 41 straight victories, including 2 SEC titles and 2 national championships.
We've done something that no one else has ever done.
We've been undefeated for 3 years. These are the best riders in the country.
The last team to beat them, the Georgia Bulldogs, in the finals of this very event in 2018.
It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy.
We are all hungry. We all want to win.
Today, 2 of the best teams in the country meet up.
You know, when they say it just means more, we feel that way.
This is the preview to the national championship. SEC is where it's at.
One match to decide who reigns supreme. The 2021 SEC Equestrian Championship is next. Welcome to the 2021 SEC Equestrian Championship. We are in Bishop, Georgia, 10 miles south of the campus of the University of Georgia at the UGA Equestrian Complex. Today we have top-seeded Auburn Tigers taking on the second-seed host, Georgia Bulldogs. Tyler Denning alongside Nancy Sue Ryan and William Sparks as we take a look at the bracket. Thus far, it was close between Georgia and Texas A&M, but this sets up the 1 versus 2 matchup. And guys, these have been the dominant forces in the SEC over the last 6 years.
Yes, they have both been dominant due to strong recruitment, exceptional coaching staff, and the quality horses that the girls practice on.
And William, doing this in a conference where one of the 4 teams has won the national championship since 2002.
We take a look at the format for collegiate equestrian, featuring 2 events from the hunt seat discipline and 2 from the western discipline. Each event features 5 horses ridden by a member of each team. The rider with the highest score earns a point for the team. Team with the highest point total wins. Well, in March of 2020, the sports world shut down, and so did the equestrian teams of the SEC. Seasons, careers, and championship quests had to be put on hold.
We had a fantastic team last year. To not get to go compete, well, that was really tough. I really felt like we were going to be able to win it all, and I just felt that was just heartbroken for them.
It's been a little bit of a tough year, and we don't get to compete as much as we normally do.
We were all devastated that we couldn't compete for an SEC and a national championship last year.
It's been a whirlwind for our team this year. We didn't even know if we were going to be able to make it to this meet this year, and we have put in so much work and sacrificed so much in order to be able to be here competing.
This entire year has just been a lesson in gratitude, perseverance, hard work, and we were able to come back with a very different perspective, realizing what a privilege this is.
I think what sets our team apart from others is that we're not going to complain about it, we're going to work through it. So while it's been difficult, we've certainly worked really hard to make the best of it.
These equestrians have handled it really well, and I'd say remarkably well compared to most of the adults I've been around.
It's definitely tested our limits. I mean, we have restrictions due to COVID, and we have to be really smart, and we prioritize this team, and I think that work ethic and that camaraderie has really shown and has gotten us results that we may have not seen if we didn't have that time.
We were just felt really blessed and excited to be able to come back and compete this year, and the girls have worked even harder than ever to get to this point, and we're just so thankful to be here.
There's so much going on in the world. It really highlights how much we've put into this team and how much we're looking to get out, especially this weekend.
I think we're all just having a blast. We're really glad to be back at championships and to have it be as normal as possible.
And we're happy to be here as well. Coming up next, we get the competition started with the horsemanship event, the 2021 SEC Equestrian Championship. Welcome back to Bishop, Georgia, as we kick off the 2021 SEC Equestrian Championships. And our first event, horsemanship.
Horsemanship is similar to the reining event in that the exhibitors are given a prescribed amount of maneuvers. It's a little different, however, because this time you're being judged on your body position and your ability to get the horse through the pattern.
You have different maneuvers you have to do between walk, trot, canter, turn, back, and different paces at which you do the different maneuvers.
It is all about precision because you're going to have some fast movements in there, coupled right back to some slow, tight maneuvers, tight turns.
The rider should look still, look beautiful and elegant, and should be seamless.
I love the connection between the horse and the rider, and it's all about that in the horsemanship.
So that's what the competitors will be looking to do and what the judges will be looking for as we start off with Olivia Tordoff and Caitlin Dierks riding Cheyenne.
Tordoff has not dropped her stirrups on the first two maneuvers, which is a penalty 5 and up to a score of -0.5 to -1.5.
And these competitors being judged on following the prescribed pattern, and that's why we see the early deduction for Tordoff.
Now they're breaking to a trot, changing leads and loping off on the right lead. Both girls are riding beautifully. They're both beautiful riders. They still have their feet out of the stirrups.
So you see the record for Tordoff, a perfect 7-0 on the season in horsemanship.
Tordoff is continue riding without her stirrups now. Both riders are beautiful riders. They're in rhythm with their horses. They're in sync with their horses. Their horses are responding to them. This is very nice. These are plus 1, plus half, plus 1 maneuvers here for both girls. Picking up a canter to a turn, tight turn, and both performed that perfect.
Into the final move, the 360 left for these two competitors, and our opening competition to determine the first point. As Tordoff, you saw the 10 to 12 point deduction, that proving to be the difference as Georgia starts things off, capitalizing, taking the first point. Next up, Madison Pardon, the freshman for Auburn, against the junior Sarah Lewis of Georgia. Both will be competing on Bat Boy, and these rides taking place about 30 minutes apart, Nancy Sue, but we have the ability to put both in to evaluate the difference between the two rides.
Right, and both of these girls are very nice riders. The freshman rider, Perdot, is doing an excellent job. A lot of pressure for her to be in this big event, and she's coming to the table and she's getting her horse shown very, very well.
From Edmond, Oklahoma is Pardon, 3-1 her record in horsemanship on the year. Lewis 4-1-1 in this event.
These girls are riding horses that they have probably never ever sat on, and they're doing an excellent job of making them do their gaits and their lead changes and their change of direction. It's amazing that they can get on a horse and do this that they've never ridden.
And they do get a couple of minutes to introduce themselves to the horse and bond, but that to provide fairness for all these teams in the competition and try to get to the best possible result. As we see the scores, 214 for Pardon and 218.5 for Sarah Lewis. So a great start for Georgia, up 2-0 early on in horsemanship. Next matchup, Deanna Green on the left, the senior for Auburn, against Leah Anderson, the freshman from Georgia, on the right. And Nancy Sue, Deanna Green rode second on Layla in this competition, and that gave her a slight advantage.
It has given her a slight advantage because Layla was very disobedient, and now Deanna is able to ride her cautiously and staying out of the penalty box, which is very important at this moment.
And for Green, having seen that, does that change the way that she approaches the ride?
Absolutely. Green has given up any chances of an MOP in order to get the point for her team. That's what's important now. She's riding this horse very cautiously, keeping her very calm, not going for any big glory, just going for the 1 point that's going to help their team.
And that, the uniqueness of this collegiate scoring format, doesn't matter what the overall score is, just what that is in comparison to the competition that you are up against in the head-to-head format, contesting for 1 point as both Green and Anderson near the conclusions of their rides on Layla, and Green will end up securing the first point of the competition for the Auburn Tigers. So 2-1 things stand as the next matchup, Maddie Spack, the sophomore for Auburn, riding against Taylor Burgess, the junior for Georgia, both on horse Patty.
So they did a extended trot, back to a slow trot, up to an extended trot. Both girls did a very good job. This is a very rough moving horse, but a very, very good citizen. He's an honest horse. He's going to give the kids every ability to show what they can do and how well they can ride.
And this a pretty even matchup in terms of records on the season. SPAC 4-3 overall. Burgess 3-2-1 in horsemanship.
That's very evident that they are both excellent riders and they're doing an excellent job, and I'm glad I'm not judging it because these kids are very good.
Yeah, this one going to be very hard to determine who is better, but so crucial for each team trying to secure this point. Entering into the final 360 turn. And look at how close it was, just 1 point separating the two. SPAC prevailing 219 to even things up at 2 apiece. So 5 points contested in each event, so winner take all on this one. Taylor Searles for Auburn, Kendall Gill for Georgia on the right, both on horse Tucker.
Both girls are getting the horse ridden well. It's nice, simple lead change, precise, 1 step, 2 steps, then they loped right back off. They both are definitely going for the point here. They are showing the horse as well as they can, and they are definitely trying to get this point because this will make a difference on if it's 3-2 or 2-3.
Real strong on the season, 6-0-1 to the 3-3 for Gill.
Nice job. Both girls are precise, and look how uniform they are head to head. This is very good. This is going to be a tough one to call. I would be glad not to be the judge right now.
It was a 1 point difference in the last competition we just saw, and look at that, just a half a point. Taylor Searles for Auburn securing that 3rd point, so 3 in a row for the Auburn Tigers. As we look at the results from horsemanship, Georgia starts it off strong, but then Auburn 3 consecutive. We still have 3 events coming your way. Next, we will see equitation over fences here at the 2021 SEC Equestrian Championship.
Hi, I'm Isabel Heckler. You're watching. Okay.
My name is Sarah Lewis, and you're watching the SEC Equestrian.
SEC Equestrian Championship.
My name is Sarah Lewis, and you're watching the 2021
SEC Equestrian Championship.
Go Dogs!
It's not just for us, but it's for everybody else that helps us, all the people that came before us and gave us the opportunity to be on such a great team.
This is probably going to be one of the teams I will always remember. So yeah, this would be a very special win for us.
It would just keep the smile on my face for a very long time.
I've won the semifinal round before. I've won the championship round. I've also lost the semifinal and lost the championship. But to get that ring would just be icing on the cake.
We didn't get last year, and we're so hungry for it, and it would be amazing. It would mean so much to each and every one of us.
That's what's at stake as we welcome you back to the SEC Equestrian Championship. Auburn an early 3-2 lead over Georgia as we head into our second event, equitation over fences.
Equitation over fences, that's from the years of fox hunting, when they would be off on horses and hunting and they'd have to jump all the logs and fences. And so this is a judged event on how well they can do that.
Fences is basically we're given 8 to 12 jumps over a course, and there's usually a number of strides you have to do in between each jump.
There are also bending lines, which you can have a little longer distance, and then the rider can decide what stride makes most sense for their horse.
It should have a perfect cadence. It should look like it flows. It looks like beautiful lead change are happening. It comes right out of stride.
It's basically about having the most fluid round that looks the most effortless, as if we weren't doing anything.
Start things up with a matchup between 2 juniors, beginning with Michaela Langmeyer from Auburn. Both will be riding on the horse Chapman.
And here we see Michaela Langmeyer riding around. She has a classic equitation style. She flows quite naturally. Her position is excellent. We're seeing her come up to a 1 stride right now, and she has a beautiful release through the 1 stride. And that is very important. You need to be able to communicate through your horse at all times through your hands and your legs. We're seeing her come through the 4-stride to the 2-stride to the 4-stride, and she does it absolutely beautifully. As she's coming around to the last line, I just want to point out once again, she has very classic style. She's in great communication with her horse. And here we see her coming to the final jump. And that was an extremely good round. And you'll see it probably in the scores.
Absolutely. 86, 89, 88, 263, the mark to beat. As up next, it will be Allie Tritzler, also a junior from the University of Georgia, riding Chapman as well. And William, that's something unique to this college format, that both competitors competing on the same horse.
Yes, they both go head-to-head on the same horse. As a judge, you don't want to compare the two of them, but what we're seeing is it's very difficult for these, or for anyone, to just come and ride a horse that they've never ridden. And these are the top athletes that we have currently in the equestrian, the female equestrians, and they make it look effortless. Here we're seeing Allie, and she's had a beautiful round so far. She's jumping this natural. He drifts out just a little bit, which causes, I don't know if he stumbled, but it made the distance just a little bit long, and that will be taken into effect for her score.
And William, so challenging for these competitors, being that they just have a couple of minutes to establish a bond with their horses.
Yes, that's extremely difficult. I mean, we're seeing the top equestrian females in our sport, but they only have a few minutes.
The score is 78 and 83, so not quite as good, and Auburn up to a 4-2 advantage. As into the next matchup, Ava Stearns, a sophomore, riding on the horse Converse.
Ava, as you can see, has a very classic style as well. She's very smooth. She's communicating with her horse well from her hands to her legs.
Very strong record on the season, 7-1-0.
Yes, and you see it right there. Very great communication through the 1-stride. As she's coming around to the 4, to the 2, to the 1. In equestrian, a lot of times there's a distance set between fences, and it's based on the horse's 12-foot stride. So in there you had 4, 2, and 4, and she did that beautifully. She's coming around to her last line, and she's having an extremely solid ride. Let's see if she can hold it together. One more jump coming up. And that was an exceptionally beautiful round. And the scores?
The scores, another extremely good mark from an Auburn rider, 257. The total is now CC Bresch, sophomore for the University of Georgia, riding on Converse as well.
CC has great style as well. That was a beautiful first jump. She's coming around to the next vertical. It's a little bit long there. Not bad, but just a tad long. Thinking of the overall. And when I say long, that's the distance from where the horse takes off. And there's usually, we're trying to set them up. And there was just a little bit longer than we might like. She's coming around to that, I've talked about the 4 to the 2 to the 4 stride. She jumps in well. Carrying up in the 4. 2 is beautiful, and here we see her coming to the 4, and the horse jumps a little bit over to the right, which causes a rail, and that is pretty much for standard now is a 4-point deduction, so you will see that reflected in her final score. And also, at times when they touch the rail, horses tend to get a little bit agitated, and you notice the last 2 jumps was just a little quicker than normal.
And that reflected in the scores, 225, as Auburn off to a great start in over fences, up now 5-2, as we see Emma Kurtz, the junior, riding on horse Hasta.
And I just wanted you to quickly notice the horse, they have different leads, and that what happened in her first jump is the horse swapped right in front of the first jump. It's not a huge deduction, but in equitation, it will be a little bit of a deduction for Miss Kurtz. She's coming around to the 1 stride. She has absolutely beautiful style. She's having a good round so far, just that one little swap. It'll depend on her competitors or on the next score. She's coming through the 4 to the 2 to the 4. And her position, her body position is it's just beautiful.
7-2-0 on the season for Kurtz, hailing from Hudson, Ohio.
Coming around to the last jump, she's had, as I said, a great round, just that one little swap. Beautiful round. And as you can see in the scores, there's just a little bit of a deduction, but otherwise it would have been a little bit higher.
Another solid score from the Auburn rider with a 2:48. That the mark to beat for Haley Morano, the senior for the University of Georgia.
And Haley has beautiful style as well. What I'm liking seeing right from the get-go is she has one pace, and that is important because earlier on they talked about hunt pace. Her pace never changes. Her body position never changes. So you see her just flowing around the course. I mean, that was absolutely beautiful. She knows where she is. A great turn here. And this is something that's very impressive. Her 4 to the 2 to the 4, she makes it look effortless. I mean, that was an absolutely beautiful ride through there, and that's very difficult. But as I'm said before a little bit, these are our top female equestrians, and they do get on these horses that they really don't know, and they make it look like they've known these horses for years. So she's coming to her last jump, and that was a beautiful round.
Yeah, that bond reflected 290s for a total of 258 and a much-needed point for Georgia. So the dogs finally on the board as we continue equitation over fences when we come back. Welcome back to Bishop, Georgia. We are in equitation over fences. Auburn with a 5-3 lead. Georgia with a much-needed point. Let's hear from the riders about what it's like to compete in the SEC.
Competing against these teams that pushes you each meet, no matter who you're riding against, the SEC is where it's at.
We have the best riders. I think we have the best horses. I think we have the best coaches, the best programs. I guess I'm a little biased because I'm in the SEC.
Man, we've been beating the heck out of each other all season long. These are the teams.
It's the SEC. It's an amazing conference. Every sport is that way.
It's usually an SEC school at the top. I mean, the past 3 years has been an SEC undefeated. That just goes to show the strength of the conference.
You know, if you can compete with this group of girls, you can compete with anybody else.
Competition so high in the SEC, no wonder that teams currently in the conference have won 18 consecutive NCEA national titles. We continue on with equitation over fences. Our next rider will be Megan Napick riding on the horse Kenny.
Oh, here we see Megan Napick riding to the first jump. I'm just noticing right off the bat, she sits a little deeper than the other girls may have, but I think that she's trying to keep the horse in a little bit more of a frame. Kenny seems to be just a little bit more, as we call, strung out, and so you try and hold him in the frame so that you can get to the jump as best you can. She's doing a wonderful job here. She sits very well through that one stride. It's coming around to the 4 to the 2 to the 4. And he jumps a little bit hard to the right, which dislodges her just a hair, which causes the out of the 2 stride just to be a little bit long. Overall, though, she's doing a very good job. You know, it's difficult to ride different horses, and obviously she's come to play, and she's getting him in a frame, trying to get him, you know, in front of her leg, coming around to the last jump. And she did a beautiful job. It was a very solid ride, but it was a little bit more difficult. And you'll see that in the scores.
82, 80, and a 77, 239. The mark to best for Rachel McMullen, the sophomore riding for the University of Georgia. We will now see how she rides on Kenny.
Well, she starting off at the first jump, she was coming out of the turn and took her leg off maybe just for a second, and he slowed down, which caused then it to be a little long, which causes also a swap. But as we're seeing, she's doing a great job. After that, she comes up and is making the mark and having a beautiful ride. This horse takes a little bit more leg than the others that we may have seen, and both girls have been doing an exceptional ride. He jumps a little hard to the right, just like the other in the competitor Miss Napick. Beautiful ride through the 2 stride. I mean, she is having a very nice ride. It just will depend on that first jump where she lost his momentum just a little bit, his pace, when got long to the jump with the swap. That was beautiful. So we're seeing very comparative rides here. They both had a little bobble here and there, and you notice that in the scores. They're kind of tight.
Very tight indeed. Just 1 point between McMullen and Napick. So Auburn ekes it out with that score of 239 to go up 6-3 overall. Is now Quentin the horse for the competitor Taylor St. Jacques, the senior from Auburn.
And as a senior, Taylor has a lot of experience riding these horses that she's never seen or ridden before, and you can see it. She has a very beautiful style. She's in communication with her horse at all times. We see her coming through the one stride here. It's a nice view straight on because you see she is has that good feel through that one stride.
You saw the perfect record on the year, 7-0 thus far.
And that was a beautiful ride. You're seeing she's drifted a little bit to the right, and that caused a little bit of a long distance. She hit it very well, but from the back, you could definitely see that. So I'll be interested to see how the scores from the judges would be, because from the back, we saw it. From the front, they might not.
As St. Jacques and Quentin head into the final jump, and there are the scores, 83.5 and 90, and an 85, 258.5, the mark to beat. So we'll see if the veteran senior can hold off the freshman Jordan Toring. And William, these two competitors riding about 30 minutes apart. Is there an advantage to going first or second as determined in the draw?
In theory, yes. You would want to go second, but when we go back to it's a live animal, it's how you communicate with this animal. So that takes a little bit of the advantage away. You can watch the round and you can have some pointers, but as I said, you're on a live animal and you have to learn to communicate. And if you don't communicate well with this animal, it may not be any advantage at all. There you saw just a little swap in the two stride. Overall, she's having a beautiful round. She's coming around to the second to last jump. Right now, she's pretty much neck and neck with St. Jacques. They both are doing very well. She's about to jump this vertical. And you notice she gets left just a little bit in the tack, so that's gonna be a deciding factor.
Heads into the final jump, and will that be a deciding factor? A solid score, 249, but not quite enough to best the 258.5 mark of the seniors. So a solid competition in equitation over fences for Auburn. They pick up 4 of the 5 points to take an overall lead of 7-3 over Georgia, with 2 events still to come, equitation on the flat and reining, when we come back. Welcome back to the 2021 SEC Equestrian Championships. The overall score halfway through, Auburn up 7-3 over Georgia as we head into equitation on the flat.
Flat is a series of 9 maneuvers that we perform for accuracy. The riders also judged on their position and their effectiveness.
It is a very intricate pattern.
They do trot, canter, walk, lengthening, and lateral work.
The flat, it is all a prescribed pattern, and everything has to be done to the greatest of detail.
It should be fluid, it should be beautiful. It's a little bit like a dance on a horse.
Dancing on these horses. This horse, Bo, and Ellie Ferrigno, the freshman for Auburn, and Isabel Heckler, the senior for Georgia, will be tasked with the first dance.
Well, as you see on Bo, both of them are having a good ride. Bo did react twice to Ellie Ferrigno and almost broke to a canter, and that's going to affect her score a little bit. Here we see them both doing a lengthening. Nice sitting trot, and they're both riding without stirrups on Bo. Both have a beautiful leg, beautiful upper body. Ferrigno's having a little more problems with Bo in that doing the leg yielding. He was a little bit resistive there. Here we see them continuing working without stirrups, both of them looking very nice, doing their shoulder in. Ferrigno just has a little bit too much left rein as compared to Heckler. Overall, they're both doing a very good job. Frignos have a little bit more communication issues maybe than Heckler for this pattern ride. Like you see it right there with a little bit of a head.
Ferrigno on the left, Heckler on the right.
And they're just about to finish up their tests. Overall, they both did a very, very good job. We'll see what the scores do.
Score 217 for Ferrigno, Heckler 238. So the senior scores a much-needed point for Georgia to make the overall score 7-4 in the competition. Next up will be Taylor St. Jacques, the senior for Auburn, against Nora Andrews, the freshman for Georgia, both competing on the horse Murphy.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see a senior versus a freshman. And here we see a lead change. And you notice it shows up a little bit. Nora had just a little bit more of a resistance in her lead change. And now they're going to the lengthening. They do a 20-meter circle of lengthening, both doing a very, very good job.
We've seen this over the last handful of rides, the experience of the senior reflected in the record, but does it reflect in point scoring between these two here?
Well, I think you have to take it into consideration. I mean, being a senior, you have 3 years over a freshman. Doesn't always, but here you're seeing a little bit. Like right there, doing the leg yielding, Taylor St. Jacques is very smooth, whereas Nora Andrews is just a little bit choppier, and that does come from experience. Here you see them doing their sitting trot, coming down the long side.
St. Jacques on the left, Andrews on the right.
Yes, and they're both doing a shoulder in. Here you see them both still without their stirrups and leaving the ring. Well, good job for both of them.
So experience prevails. St. Jacques scoring another point for Auburn as they go up 8-4 in the overall. Next up, Michaela Langmeyer on the left, the junior for Auburn, and Allie Tritzler, the senior for Georgia, both riding on the horse Queen.
And you just saw them both do a flying change. Tritzler's was a little bit rougher than Langmeyer's in that segment. They're now doing a collected canter on a 15-meter circle. Both doing an excellent job. I have to point out, though, it's raining now, so the weather does affect us just a little bit.
How so?
Well, if you notice, on the right, we have Tritzler on Queen, and Queen's just a little bit anxious. She's a little bit more ready. Here we see them coming back to the sitting trot. They're doing a shoulder in. And as you notice, on the right, there's Tritzler, and Queen was a little bit more up and down, as not as smooth as Langmeyer. So the rain did affect just a little bit. They both are beautiful riders. They're coming down, about to exit. And right here, they both are doing a great job.
Langmeyer, though, the better score, so the #1 team in the country up big at 9-4. Ava Stearns, sophomore for Auburn, will be riding against Haley Marano, the senior for Georgia, both on the horse Risky.
And you just noticed Risky just, I guess, showed its namesake. It had a little bobble. It was reactive. I don't know if it was Marano's instruction, but I wasn't there. Here we're seeing them both do a lengthening. In my opinion, Marano has a little bit more of a lengthening, and I would give her the advantage there.
See the comparison of the records on the year. 2 victories for both.
And here we have them at the sitting trot, going to the rising trot, and they're going to lengthen down the diagonal. Both doing an exceptional job. But I think we have to go back to that little reaction from Risky for the overall score.
And that reflected tight, but 236, the point going the way of the sophomore, and Auburn opening up a commanding lead now, 10-4 in the overall, as we see Emma Kurtz, the junior from Hudson, Ohio, competing for Auburn on the left. Cece Bresch, the sophomore for UGA on the right, both riding Toby.
And they both picked up the canter and did a wonderful job. Here they've both chosen to do a simple change as opposed to a flying change. We see them again cantering. doing another simple change, both doing a great job. And now we switch to they're doing a collected canter in a 10-meter circle. Cece has a little bit better feel, but they both are exceptional riders. And they're going back to the sitting trot, coming around the turn. And on the left, you notice that Emma just, for a little bit, she had a little break to a canter, and that is going to affect her overall score. And here they are finishing up. Let's see if that did affect her score.
And it did indeed. 221 for Kurtz to 232 for Bresch. So a much needed point for Georgia, but Auburn takes 3 of the 5 contested in equitation on the flat, coming from St. Jacques. Langmeyer and Stearns is their overall advantage, 10-5 over Georgia.
So do I just say, like, you're watching the, do I look at the camera?
No,
Okay. You're watching the 2021 SEC, I'm sorry, what was it again?
You're watching the 2021 SEC Championship. Do I have to say equestrian?
Hi, my name is Deanna Green, and you're watching the 2021 SEC Equestrian Championship. War Eagle. Was it weird?
No,
okay.
Reining comes from the working horses, working cattle, and being on ranches. They got to be adaptable, easily reined, and it's definitely a great speed event.
Reining is an event judged off of control of the horse, turning, sliding, handling.
Our reining event is fast-paced, it's sliding stops, it's lots of noise and spinning and excitement as you're watching those horses be agile and turn and roll back.
It's probably one of the fans' favorite events to watch. It's very exciting and it's quick moving.
We are looking forward to seeing it here in Georgia. Down 5, needing all 5 points contested here as we start off with Isabella Tesmer, the freshman for Auburn, and Sophie Lucas, the freshman for Georgia, both competing on Bullseye.
We're going to watch these girls do fast rundowns, stops, slide backs, roll backs. This is going to be a fun class to watch. They're running down, they're going to stop, roll back. Both done very well. Now they're going to run back down. They're going to do their circles. They're doing large, fast. They're doing very fast circles. And then they'll slow down. And then they're going to do another, so Bullseye has gone off lead behind for Lucas, and so his leads are not engaged. Now he's changed the lead. She is going to pick up several penalty points there, probably 3 with a maneuver score of -1.
And that's tough for Georgia. Georgia, as mentioned, needing every one of these points contested here in the Western Arena.
These are the 360 spins. They're both very equal. Both girls are going to probably score a 0 up to a +0.5. Bullseye is backing up on Lucas. So he's been a little disobedient for her. She's catching up. She's completing nice spins. Very well done. Good end.
And that will secure the point for Auburn. Georgia needed each one out of this event, but Auburn gets it, making it 11-5, and Auburn, the 2021 SEC Equestrian Champions. 3 straight SEC titles. Tigers winning 4 of the last 6. Few more rides to close things out. Terry June Granger on the left for Auburn. Caitlin Lyons on the right for Georgia, riding Chexie.
This is a very nice matchup of girls. They're very good riders. I love how Granger's looking to the center. She's looking to see where she's going. They're both looking. See, they're looking. This is good. The horse will follow where they go, so this is what they're doing. They're going to run down, stop, do a roll back right, come out on the right lead, come into a circle.
And obviously the overall contested already in Auburn, the champions, but these individual riders contesting for their spots in the MOP competition.
Most outstanding player, that's always a good thing to come home with. These girls are finishing their pattern with spin to the right. Both doing very good job. Nice go, very nice.
So still much to be contested for these individual competitors across these remaining head-to-heads. As you see the scores for Granger, 207.5, so another point secured for Auburn to make it overall 12-5 their advantage. Next matchup will be Taylor Searles, the senior for Auburn, against Jordan Carpenter, a senior for Georgia, both riding on the horse Stoner.
They're running their large, fast. Oh, Stoner just kicked out. He kicked out again. Each time he kicked out and changed leads, he had 2 5-point penalties and a 1-point penalty. That's a tough start.
So unfortunately, with the disobedience of Stoner, that will be reflected in the score.
Yes, she probably has 10, maybe 11 penalty points. Forget the maneuver points. She could even have had some maneuver points, but it was the horse's actions.
You see even records for these two across the course of the season thus far, 3-1.
Doing the 360s. Neither one of these are credit earning spins, but they are correct spins, and that's what we need to get.
Now the other way.
Yeah, the other way. They're doing the same thing. Carpenter let her horse settle just for a minute, which is a smart move to let him catch his breath before she asked him to do a big turn.
And we talked about those deductions obviously reflected in the score as Cyril secures yet another point for Auburn, running away at 13-5. Deanna Green up next, a senior for the Victors, against Lindsey Guyan for Georgia, riding the horse Nike.
Lindsay had a cross canter coming out of that turn, but she corrected it before she ran the corner, so she had no penalties.
And we're seeing here really the beauty, the power, what makes this event so exciting. These competitors on Nike.
They're going to do another rundown and do their circles. Very good. Both girls are riding very well. They have different styles. Green sits back a little bit more. The Lindsay, she rides forward with her hands forward, and she gets out of the saddle a little bit more, but that's her style of riding, and Green has her own style, and they're both efficient for what they're doing.
Nearing the conclusion of this matchup, Green and Guyan.
Good lead changes. The girls are going to run down, do the stops. Nike scotched with Green. She made him go on and stop. He stopped big and backed up.
And look at how tight between Deanna and Lindsay. Just 1 point separating the two, but now 9 points the difference as Auburn secures yet another as we head into our final ride of the competition. Boo Kammerer, the sophomore for Auburn, against Courtney Blummer, the junior for Georgia, riding on the horse Peanut.
If you watch the two girls, Bloomer rides again way forward up on the horse's neck with her hands, where Camara is sitting back and sitting in the saddle more. I noticed that the Georgia girls seem to do this. So now, sitting up out of the tack, she maybe did not feel that horse fixing to change leads, break, and has caused her a lot of penalty points.
Beautiful from both competitors as they back Peanut up.
Now do the 4 spins to the right. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and stop. 4 left. Very good.
And what a ride for Boo and Peanut. A little pat of appreciation. Is that the best score that we have seen? And reigning, so impressive for Auburn. All 5 riders get results, an even sweep as they secure yet another SEC Equestrian Championship title. Georgia had kept it close in equitation on the flat and horsemanship, but the dogs were outmatched in the other 2 events as Auburn had a very strong 4-1 showing over fences. Third straight SEC title for the Auburn Tigers. Victorious here in Bishop, Georgia. We'll be right back to wrap up the day. So the 2021 Auburn Tigers remain undefeated, winning the SEC for the fourth time in the last 6 years. And William, Nancy Sue Ryan, why have they been so dominant?
Auburn's been so dominant because of recruiting. Their recruiting has been second to none, and that added to the fact that they have great coaching, and the horses help too.
And I agree, William, but this team is a team, and they're for the team, not for the individual player.
So Auburn dominant in the team score, but some individual accolades for the Georgia riders, able to capture two of the most outstanding performances, Caitlin Dierks in horsemanship and Haley Morano in fences, taking home the MOP honors. And for the team victors, it was Taylor St. Jacques on the flat and Boo Kammerer in reining, taking home the MOP awards for the SEC champion Auburn Tigers. As we take a look at how the events broke down, Auburn dominant in both equitation over fences and reining on the western side. And the hunt seat, Auburn 4 points in 3 and over fences and on the flat. Congratulations to the Auburn Tigers on winning their third consecutive SEC title. For Nancy Sue Ryan, William Sparks, and everyone who worked so hard to bring you the 2021 SEC Equestrian Championships, Tyler Denning saying so long from UGA Equestrian Complex. Auburn makes it 3 in a row.